in the United States. I've got the number at 107 million illegal aliens currently residing with impunity, I might add, in the United States today.
107 million?
Right-wing podcast star Tucker Carlson just made an extremely bizarre false claim that raises a lot of questions. Hey guys, welcome back to Brad vs. Everyone, your home for independent and nonpartisan commentary and analysis on politics, media, internet insanity, and more. We're going to talk about a Tucker Carlson clip and podcast episode that just came out. You know, he is, since leaving Fox News and going down this independent, right-wing sort of pipeline, he is still one of the biggest voices in media. His podcast is tremendously popular, and he is using that platform to push some really bizarre and objectively false claims, seemingly to attack Trump, which I don't really understand, at least on this issue, because President Trump is at least seemingly aligned with him. But Tucker is now claiming that there are more than 100 million illegal immigrants living in the United States. That is not even close to true, but he's running with it with no real source, just at the say-so of a crazy person. We're going to go through the whole story and walk through what's happening here. But first, I'll just put the episode on screen. Tucker Carlson, quote, "There are more than 100 million illegal aliens living in the United States," he states as fact. "Donald Trump has no intention of deporting them." Oh, interesting. Okay. I feel like we've observed him attempt to deport at least a large number of illegal immigrants, and it hasn't always gone great, but he has certainly tried. Greg Bovino ran the Border Patrol until earlier this year and saw the betrayal firsthand. Now he says the administration is threatening his life. Already we're off to a false start. Greg Bovino did not, in fact, run Border Patrol. He was never in charge of Border Patrol. He was a commander at large and oversaw certain operations and officers. But the actual chief of the U.S. Border Patrol was originally Michael Banks and then Rosario Pete Vasquez. So he was an operational commander and he was the face of certain public operations, but he was never in charge of the entire Border Patrol. So that's a false framing. But maybe that's slightly pedantic. What was more bizarre to me is that Tucker didn't mention the reason that Greg Bovino, his guest, who he then accepted this wild claim about the number of illegal aliens, which we'll go through, the reason that he was removed from the spotlight and pushed out of his position of prominence leading operations for the Trump administration was that he blatantly lied about Alex Preddy, one of the American citizens killed by ICE officers in Minnesota earlier this year. Greg Bovino got on stage or in front of cameras and claimed that Preddy had intended to massacre federal officers, which is not true. There was not evidence, even if one believes, and you could debate this, that the shooting of Preddy was justified. I don't believe it was, but like in the moment, they got into an altercation and then he was shot by an ICE officer, but he didn't set out to commit some mass massacre. There's no evidence of that, and the Trump administration does not claim that today. But Greg Bovino, shortly after this guy had died, got out there in front of the cameras and accused him of essentially plotting a terrorist attack wrongly. And so then, he was removed from the spotlight, pushed to the background, and then retired a little bit later. And now he's become just a total crank doing the podcast circuit and saying outlandish things, like apparently hyperinflating the number of illegal immigrants in America. So now we're going to watch this clip where they go through this very strange claim, and then we're going to contrast it to what actual right-wing immigration restrictionist analysts say about the number of illegal aliens in America. Let's watch.
So just to kind of set it in context, what is the state of illegal immigration in the United States today, to the extent that we know? Like, how many illegal immigrants live in the United States? How many have been deported since Trump got elected, et cetera? Like, where are we?
Tucker, thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
Of course.
State of illegal immigration, one word comes to mind, that's catastrophe. Right now in the United States, I've got the number at 107 million illegal aliens currently residing with impunity, I might add, in the United States today.
107 million?
107 million. 1/4 of the population. We've got 330,000 approximately American citizens. Add another 107 million onto that. I think you can look around in any state, any region, or any city in the United States, if you're just a regular American citizen, and say, well, you know what? There's an awful lot of illegal aliens and foreigners in our country.
So we can pause there for a moment to say that what he's saying just fails at face value. We'll go through the actual numbers and statistics as well that directly contradict it. But I live in Miami, and I can tell you that 1 in 4 people you meet aren't illegal immigrants. Now, he conflates that with foreigners, but that's a different question. But still, even the estimates of foreign-born people in the United States is roughly 50 million. So it's like half of what he's suggesting just the illegal immigrant population is. And if 1 in 4 people in the United States of America were illegal immigrants, that would be extremely evident in the healthcare system, in the school system, in daily life for most people, and it's not. None of this is to say there aren't a lot of illegal immigrants in the United States. There are, but facts and reality do matter, and none of this is to say that illegal immigration isn't a problem. I certainly think it is. Now, I have different views on what the right answers and solution, quite different than are to an issue like immigration than Greg Bovino and Tucker Carlson, but you actually discredit your own side of the argument even if you are an immigration restrictionist, when you just push outlandishly false claims. Because let me go through the actual facts, what actual experts say who are hawks on immigration and want to vastly restrict legal and completely stop illegal immigration. For example, the Center for Immigration Studies, CIS, which is a restrictionist conservative think tank. Well, they estimate, here it is, illegal population down since January. Government data suggests the number of illegal immigrants may have fallen by 1 million. And they say that our preliminary estimate is that there are 14.8 million illegal immigrants in the country in May of 2025, 1 million fewer than we estimated in January of this year. So another anti-immigration or restrictionist, I don't know if they're completely, but they want to severely restrict immigration. Another group, FAIR, F-A-I-R. Here's their press release from March of 2025. The illegal alien population in the United States has now reached an all-time high of 18.6 million. They say the Federation for American Immigration Reform, FAIR, now estimates that 18.6 million illegal aliens are living in the United States, an all-time high. That figure represents an 11% increase since FAIR's last estimate of 16.8 million in June 2023, and a 28% increase over the 4 years of the Biden administration. Anyway, so we should actually unpack this, because even if you assume that these right-wing estimates are underestimates, and you say that it's 20 million, 25 million, which again is a lot of illegal immigrants and absolutely constitutes a problem if you have a system that is resulting in that, they're still off by at least 400%. And in reality, the actual estimates are under 20 million, so they're off by 500%. And yet one of the biggest voices in right-wing media that millions of people listen to is just casually lying to people and asserting this garbage fake statistic to stir up panic and fear in people, and then attack the Trump administration, which is based on a false premise here that they have no intention of deporting people, when I think they're certainly trying to deport people, and it's not necessarily going well, but they're trying to deport people. And then their whole framing of how he's attacking Trump for betraying the MAGA base on immigration makes no sense, because it's all based on the hallucinations of this crazy person that are 500% overestimates of the actual number of illegal immigrants. And so you're just massively misinforming people. You're nodding along in your flannel shirt in your studio set, making millions of dollars by pushing objectively false, absurd panic narratives and claims to millions of people. This is what I mean. It's not, this is just a small example, but I've caught this with Tucker as well and other in the right-wing podcast space. They just don't care about facts. They just don't care about accuracy at all. It's just like a post-truth, a post-reality right-wing media podcast ecosystem. How can you be okay with that? Even if you're a huge opponent of immigration, and I'm somebody who believes in a secure border but is supportive of legal immigration and at a reasonable amount thinks it can help a thriving society. But even if you are, and I've seen some people say this on Twitter, even if you're like an anti-immigration person who really doesn't want much or any immigration, wants a very closed border, you should still not want to discredit your own cause by promoting misinformation and crazy people like Greg Bovino. And then you shouldn't want to set up impossible standards because literally any Republican administration, the number of deportations, if it would fail if you're using denominators that aren't real, that are 500% overestimate. So it's like, if you actually did hold the seriously ultra-conservative position on this issue, you should still care about truth. You should still care about like basic factual accuracy, about having conversations that are tethered in reality and declining to do so because you're just in podcast slopistan and you just want a narrative and you don't factually have to care about anything, I guess. Because he just states this as fact in the promotion of the podcast, in the text surrounding the podcast, in the clips itself. Tucker just nods along and goes, 100 million people, illegal immigrants. Whoa. Like, it's actually depressing that this is such a massively influential person that millions of people trust. And he's just betraying that trust. And I don't understand it because it's not even something where, in order to have a conservative view on this or push a certain narrative, you don't have to lie. Like, the actual facts about illegal immigration are pretty bad. It's a real problem. But they just, I don't know what's behind this. It's just a total break with truth, with reality, with any sort of standards. And I was, and still am, a critic of mainstream media for a very long time. But at least these journalistic institutions had some sort of fact-checking process. There's even a right-wing publication, a establishment liberal newspaper or whatever, wouldn't almost ever just let you assert a false statistic claim with no source that's massively wrong about a key political issue and just publish it to millions of people. But this new media ecosystem just has no quality control or editorial standards whatsoever, and it betrays massively the trust that audiences invest in it. And at some point, the audience is responsible for that. Like, people have to know this isn't true, and they can Google it very quickly and find even the most right-wing sources that exist in experts in this area don't claim this, and surely would if it was real, right? They would be they're trying to raise the alarm to get more deportations and more funding for border security. Surely they want to make the situation sound as dire as it can possibly be, and they're saying less than 20 million. So it's just objectively not a credible thing. But audiences don't seem to care these days that these people they watch just lie to them and just insult their intelligence. And they just keep watching. So at some point, you get what you deserve. I don't know. I just think the media ecosystem right now is so incredibly broken across the board. And this is a microcosm of that. Because there's not going to be any sort of audience consequence or feedback for Tucker for this. It's just a day that ends in Y, and he'll just keep making millions of dollars and drawing in millions of eyeballs and push something new that's fake and absurd next week. It's all going amazing, guys. But you'll have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you aren't yet. And do consider becoming a channel member here on YouTube. It's the best way to support my independent commentary and analysis that, you know what, you might disagree with my opinions, but I try very hard. I'm not perfect. I'm sure I make mistakes, but it's like to discuss things that are tethered to factual reality and have always some source of credible information. That I thought that was the bare minimum. And so I try to do that in my work. But apparently that is dispensing with that is almost a prerequisite to have one of the biggest podcasts in America today. So I don't. But you know what? I'd rather do it this way and have support from smart people like you who would rather have reality-based conversations. Anyway, guys, do become a channel member to support me. Hit the join button or click the link in the description, and we will leave it there for this one.